Sports Carnival broadcasting live, baby, from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room. I am Dave. This is Matt, the owner of the Recov, and you are watching us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, and we sure appreciate you, Matt. You missed another Matt. Matty Ice, Matty Euler, become our big winner last night. 456 buckaroos. Our big jackpot at the bingo extravaganza. We also did something that I didn't tell you about, but we're just going to kind of do it, especially on the end of the month ones. Every single game, we took some money out of the big pot. Every single game up until the big game, $20.
I love it, man.
$20.
I love it. I had no problem with it at all. I saw your Facebook post. It looked great. Pure blessings to everybody out there listening. But yeah, congratulations to Matty Ice. Looked like it was a good time. Good time to come in at the end of the month.
Dude,
you're running a hell of a bingo, my friend.
It was so much fun. And we've got some friends of ours. We're getting a bigger and bigger group coming over from Viterbo University, the nursing department. Savannah and all her friends were coming over.
Any Helen Keller conversations last night?
No, okay. Last night, surprisingly, no Helen Keller conversations. The girls that are really on the Helen Keller conversation are I think we've got Allie, we've got Tess, and then Nikki. Those are the three that are really, really, and Dylan, our good buddy that lives across the street here from the Trauma Center Studio North. He's really into this whole Helen Keller was a hoax conspiracy thing. I'll tell you what, though, young people pushed back on each other on Sunday because this conversation did go through even the Elite Eight on Sunday night and other friends of ours that come into the bar, and too many that I can even recall right now, had some forceful pushback on their contemporaries, on their peers about the validity of their theory that Helen Keller is a hoax. One thing I will say, and listen, I'm all for a good conspiracy theory like anybody. It's fun. It's exciting. We'll zeitgeist this thing. But you can't look at something in 1882 through the lens of 2023. They weren't thinking about, how things like, Daddy Warbucks wasn't thinking about how this would land on, let's say, the media in general at that time. So I think there's some virtue signaling that they thought might have been going on in those times that frankly was just not happening because people didn't care about that shit back then. Well, and they just didn't care about it.
I agree with you 100%. I just don't know why even these kids nowadays at this point in time want to even try to go back 120, 50 years ago and try to figure out what the hell's going on.
Because I'll tell you why. This is a real, and I'm glad that you brought that up. This is a real thing. We live in what we call, and I've started to research this, a bit tangentially research what we call the
So you watched the movie again?
No, I mean, just,
Sorry, you just had to throw it out there.
Well, I don't know if I watched the movie again. I'm just saying not this Helen Keller situation, but in general, why would they believe this? We live in a post-truth type of society now where basically you go for, not you, but in general, people go for places where they get affirmation, not information. And I started talking about this way back in the day on my program in Vegas with Chad. You weren't going to come to my spot for 3 hours and get affirmation as opposed to information. I'm going to fucking hold your hand, and I'm not going to tell you that you're right because you think the same thing that I think, or I think the same thing that you think. That's not my thing. But we do live in that particular space now, and I feel like when that happens, everything's up for grabs.
Oh, for
right? Like,
sure.
Did yesterday even happen? I don't know.
Just
prove to me that it did. If you're going to show me a video that yesterday happened, I'll tell you, fake news, deep fake.
I was just going to say, just ask Fox News. You never know what's real when you go down that line. Who knows?
That's what I'm saying. Yep. So how does Helen Keller come back into the conversation? Because we live in a post-truth society. Everything's up for grabs now. And I love it. I'm thinking to myself, listen, this is the kind of imagination that I was hoping to see emerge. I didn't know it would take on this particular form, but I'm willing to go with it. Now, they can definitely be wrong, and I would love to tell them that I disagree 100%. Helen Keller was not a hoax, but it's still fun. I had a good time with it. It gave me a lot of joy, internal joy. This made me smile.
The way we were going with the information technology and all these kids on their phones, and you and I talked about it yesterday with everybody. These influencers now, they have a little bit more pull, I guess, than actual history.
I agree, and I think that if I could find the influencer that's trying to sway the Helen Keller conversation, I'd invite them onto the Sports Carnival.
Maybe Thomas, I was going to say, sorry, it was maybe Jake Paul with Aaron Rodgers when they're doing ayahuasca together.
It's possible. Yeah, Listen, possible. That's possible. I'd put everything on the table with that particular narcotic in play. If that was Jake Paul and Aaron Rodgers coming up with the Helen Keller hoax thing, not necessarily saying that's completely off the table. Thomas from UW says, good morning. He loves the sunglasses this morning. Thank you, buddy. These were a gift from our good buddies at Proper Number 12 Irish Whiskey. Thank you very much. Propa number 12. That's Conor McGregor's brand of whiskey, I believe. I don't know if it's very good. It's okay.
I'm not a big fan.
I'm not a whiskey drinker for the most part.
See, I love whiskey, but it's hard for me to get past, like, I'm past that stage where it comes from tequilas made by Michael Jordan, or produced or owned by Michael Jordan, or whiskeys made by Conor McGregor. I'm sticking to, like, the people that are actually, behind it,
Sure. Yeah, I guess that's a fair point.
It's overpriced. Most of these whiskeys and tequilas and everything that are coming with some sort of famous name. It's like buying a Sony.
But Casamigos is good.
Casamigos is good, but George Clooney, that's the only one that I can get by on, because I really do enjoy that tequila.
That's a very good one.
It's a very good one.
I like that. I've also been interested to try, even though I'm not a whiskey guy or a bourbon guy, I've been interested to try Heaven's Door whiskey or bourbon brand. So Bob Dylan got involved with this distiller, and they've got a really small line of whiskeys and bourbons. I'd be interested to try that. But needless to say, thank you, Thomas. I'm liking them too. And by the way, Stack's Family Farms, we sell these bad boys downstairs. Get a 2-pack for $5, a 5-pack for $20 of some of the finest THC products in the state of Wisconsin, fully legal. Eric from La Crescent lives in Minnesota, where I think THC is even more legal than it is here. Congratulations, Eric from La Crescent. Don't tell your kids. Top of the morning, fellas. Congrats, Matty Ice. Middleton looks like he's back. And we also had Morning Wood. I put his comment up here talking about the Badgers. We got a lot to cover here this morning, guys and gals, and we're really glad that you're here with us on the Sports Carnival. Now, the Bucks rolling with Middleton, Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, Javon Carter looked really good last night versus Detroit in Detroit. The Badgers gearing up for a really big game. One of their last 2 games, no matter what happens in this season, versus North Texas in the NIT Final Four. We've also got to talk about what Brian Gutekunst said yesterday at the owners' meeting. Are the Green Bay Packers, and did the Green Bay Packers actually get ghosted by Aaron Charles Rodgers? We've got a lot to unpack. The poll question that Matt and I have for you on our Facebook group page, as well as our Twitter feed, is simply, who do you think wins tonight, Wisconsin versus North Texas? All right, take that both on the Twitter feed at the Sports Carney. If you're a member of the Facebook group page, you know what to do. Take the poll question there. Matt will be back in about 45 seconds, reminding our listeners, back open today at 11 o'clock at the Recov. I'll be behind the bar at 4. Come and see us. It's going to be a great day. Sunny out today. Looks like it's going to be a warm one. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Hello, I am Don Francisco, and I roast and blend coffees for your pleasure and mine. My newest blend is Vanilla Nuts. The coffee so rich and so sweet, it tastes like the French Alps has dangled its in your cup of java. If you love coffee like I do, then you'll love Don Francisco's with a 135-year tradition. Because at Don Francisco's, if you're up all night, so are we.
That's right. Welcome back. Sports Carnival, broadcasting live, Trauma Center studio, sending a shout out to Don Francisco's fine line of cheap coffee. Thank you, Don Francisco. Will you keep me up all night, just like you are up all night? Matt, it's a beautiful day here in Western Wisconsin. I hope that wherever you're listening or watching this program, you're in some great weather too. If you're picking this up in June of 2023, I really hope it's sweltering hot. You know, we've gone through this springtime and this last part of wintertime, sort of looking over our shoulders here in the Cross. Madison got hit with record amount of snow.
Yeah.
We saw snow on the Wisconsin. Eau Claire,
yeah.
The Dells, I saw got snow the other day. We've been really kind of holding it off. Do you think, and I'm not trying to, poke the proverbial bear, but do you think we've gotten past this whole winter thing? Are we ready to turn the page? The patio's open, and I just want to say we're all in, right? Because I was outside yesterday reading and just having a good time with the animals, and I don't want to see winter come back, at least not for 6, 7, 8 months.
I'm with you that all in. Being somewhat of a local, obviously been here for most of my life, there is something that I truly believe that is kind of a myth or true about the La Crosse area where the 3 rivers combine.
Sure.
So if you ever look at when you have to look at the clouds come in, it's one of those things where it always breaks up between the bluffs and the rivers, which is great. Do I think we're going to get one more snowfall? Unfortunately, yes, I do, my friend. But the best thing about it, it's not going to stick to the ground. So we have that going for us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was hoping you would say, yeah, Dave, I believe that we're completely over it, but it's fine.
We'll get snow on April 15th for some reason. We do every year, but it's gone within, 4 hours.
I think the science rat, Punxsutawney Phil, isn't that what we call it?
Yep.
The science rat. He determined that we were going to have winter.
I wasn't wearing my Groundhogs shirt today with Bill Murray, but yeah, it's one of my favorite movies, by the way, as well. But yeah, I think either way in Wisconsin, it's in the Midwest. Wait 5 minutes, the weather changes.
Okay. Well,
sorry.
All right. I was just hoping you were going to say no, Dave. It's over. It's fine. Just go ahead and
you're the guy that's
snow on my parade.
Well, you're the guy that's glass is half full. I'm the guy that's glass is half empty.
That's true.
Let's get on to the Bucks.
But you gave us the half full glass of snow. I was looking for the half empty. You see,
I'm sorry, man.
So I was trying to follow you. I wanted to be
I rained on your parade. I didn't snow on your parade.
All right. We're going to melt that snow right off.
There you go.
Chris Middleton, he was so hot last night for the Bucks, he could have melted the snow. And I know that we saw Eric from La Crescent mention to us that Chris Middleton's back. Chris Middleton is back. And this is something that I think as a Bucks fan, we've been waiting for all season long, right? Chris Middleton's injury, again, you're not injured on purpose, but his injury definitely had an effect to Chris Middleton and the entire Milwaukee Bucks team as he started the season on the injured list and didn't really come back until, right before the All-Star game, just a tad bit before the All-Star game. And it's been coming off the bench and now starting again here recently. But he'd been working off the rust slowly. And I was fine with that because the Bucks were so damn good this year, guys. What was the rush to really bring him back? And I think for the most part, people have that same takeaway, Matt, at least the ones that I was talking to. Don't rush the guy back. Wait until he's ready and then get him back on the court healthy. Well, now last night against Detroit, a team that, listen, isn't playing for anything except for pride right now, does have some interesting young prospects. They were playing the Bucks tough, and they needed a scorer, a guy like Chris Middleton, to be able to pick up the pace when Janus isn't there. He did, season-high 34 points. Now, Brook Lopez continues to have just an incredible season, and we sure love Brook Lopez on the Sports Carnival. 24 and 14. Big Bobby Portis at 21 and 14. And I mentioned Javon Carter's name at the beginning. He also had 22 points. Javon Carter's a player that, when he was playing with Phoenix, I thought was a nice little piece, a rotation guy, maybe an 8 to 10 minute guy in the NBA, a 10th or an 11th man at best. But he's been a surprise this year for me. He's been very consistent, decent on defense, good ball handler, good shooter.
I'm just becoming familiar with Javon Carter, to be honest with you. It's not been hard for me to catch up on a lot of basketball. What my takeaways, to be honest with you, were the double-doubles, both from Lopez and Portis. It was just great to see those guys off the bench. Obviously, Detroit's one of the worst teams in the NBA. They do have some young talent. Goran Dragic finally got on the court yesterday, his first action with the Bucks, but he really didn't do much, but at least he got on the court. So going forward, obviously, they have a big game on Thursday against the Celtics. So I mentioned that yesterday. So Milwaukee is with opening day with the Cubs on Thursday. And then also you have the Celtics versus the Bucks, which is going to be a prelude to, hopefully probably the finals in the Eastern Conference, most likely.
Yeah, up next for Milwaukee will be a visit to the Pacers. So they'll take on the Pacers on Wednesday. Then they will play the Celtics coming up, as you've mentioned. And that will be what we would hope to see anyways on court, a preview of that matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals, at least for Milwaukee. I don't care if the Celtics are there.
Yeah, Celtics or Sixers, who cares?
Right,
as long as it's the Bucks.
Exactly. I do think the Celtics come out on top of their particular portion of that bracket. They'll most likely be the 2 seed. Even if they're the 3 seed, they'll still be in that side of the way that the playoff bracket would be set up. Milwaukee right now surely looks like they're going to remain the number 1 seed in the NBA. And I mean, throughout the entire playoff. So last night they win the NBA's best, at least so far this season, 54th game. They were 53 and 21 coming into the contest. Last night they notched their 54th win. The Pacers are a team that we have to recall, though, did just beat the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks were 8.5-point favorites versus Indiana just about a week ago. And I unwisely did something that I normally don't do. I bet money on the Milwaukee Bucks to cover that spread because Milwaukee had been covering like just awesome in recent games. They had won, 25 and 26 at that particular time. So I went with the Bucks, played my heart as opposed to my head. The Bucks were huge favorites, ended up losing by 13 points, which I believe, Matt, and I don't have the stat in front of me right now, so I'm just going to kind of, paraphrase the stat, if you will, make it up if it's wrong. I believe that was the largest loss, the 13-point loss the Bucks suffered at the hands of the Pacers by a team that was favored by 8.5 or more points all season long. Now, that's not a stat that you're going to be able to pull up
No.
really fast.
No.
But that was something that I saw, and it was either all of this season or in like the last few seasons. It had been a while since a team was favored by 8.5 points and got thumped and lost by 13. So we'll look out for the Pacers. Again, a team that does have talent, right? Tyrese Halliburton, they're coached by Rick Carlisle. So it's not like they're a poorly coached team. They're just going through a transitional phase. But Miles Turner's a good big down low. Again, I think the Bucks should win, and that's why I put money down on Milwaukee last time to beat them by 8.5. But they did lose by 13. So just keep
where's
that
game
in mind.
at, Dave? Do you know?
It's going to be in Indiana.
It is in Indiana.
Yes.
So yeah.
It's going to be in Indiana.
Alrighty.
Yes, it is alrighty.
I just
It
didn't know
is
if that made a
alrighty.
difference for you, whether if they were playing in Milwaukee or in Indiana, if you
No,
made a
they
difference on the
they
bet.
should win.
Yep.
I mean, the Bucks should have beaten Indiana last time too. I believe that game was also in Indiana, but I still think the Bucks should beat the Pacers. Look, the Bucks are the best team in the league, right? Like they should be the favorite in just about every single matchup. There's not even a matchup at home for the Celtics in which I would truly say that the Bucks should be not favored in.
Is there any word on whether Janus is going to be playing on Wednesday at all?
As far as I know, he should be
Because he
playing.
didn't play last night.
No, but he was sitting out versus the Pistons.
Right.
So, I mean, that's one of those things that you just look at and say, okay, who cares? He's sitting out versus the Pistons.
One of the worst teams in the league.
Giannis is listed as, let's see, doubtful at this particular moment versus the Pacers, according to ESPN. So, game coming up tomorrow. Giannis listed as doubtful. And again, you can see why. Pacers are 33-43. This isn't a team in Indiana the Bucks have to beat. I'm just keeping an eye out for the number, which I don't know if it's been released yet. I don't think we've gotten a number yet on this. Let me check. Sometimes NBA guys and gals will come out a day or so before, not a day or so. It may, in some cases, get a number a day before the game tips off, but in many cases, it won't get a number until the day of the game because another team is possibly playing tonight, and an injury tonight could have drastic effects on what the number would be
I
tomorrow.
get what you're laying down.
So I don't see a number yet for the Bucks here. We'll see. I still think Milwaukee should win. Point being, we like where this Milwaukee team is at. Like Eric from La Crescent said, Chris Middleton having a big night last night. That's what we want to see. Brook Lopez has been starting all year. He's been monstrous. Bobby Portis has been averaging a double-double off the bench. He did what he was supposed to do last night. And Javon Carter, again, one of those players that I thought was a nice piece of rotation guy. Never really expected him to have this kind of impact. Let's talk about something else that, again, we've got the subject of our poll question, Twitter @TheSportsCarney, our Facebook group page poll question as well. The Badgers versus North Texas tonight. Now, while I didn't expect the Badgers to originally take an invite to the NIT, simply because I just didn't think it would be something that they would do. They've been a tournament team for so long. If you don't make the tournament, and the last time they didn't make the tournament, they didn't accept an invite to the NIT if they were given one. So I wasn't exactly sure they would do this. The downside to losing the NIT or to any team in the NIT, in my eyes, was that Wisconsin would look even weaker than they did getting bounced in the Big Ten tournament. However, they have made a nice showing of this thing so far. Survived some games against Oregon and what was it? Liberty. First game against Bradley was a wipeout for Wisconsin. They crushed those dudes. But Liberty and Oregon were really tough games. Now you get to a team in North Texas that I'm really kind of thinking the Badgers are going to lose to. Look, Wisconsin's a decent team. They're not a good team. They're not a great team by any stretch of the imagination, but they're a decent team, and they can have their moments. We'll start with the good. Wisconsin's a good defensive team, all right? And I've got up here on the screen, if you're watching us on one of our platforms today, you can see this. If you're listening, I'll try to break it down. Wisconsin's a good defensive team. In the country, they're ranked 23rd, okay? This is a team in Wisconsin that plays tough, plays tight. Matt, you and I know they love to take the air out of the basketball, right? Wisconsin just loves to slow down the pace, walk it up, use the shot clock. Hopefully you rebound, you hold your opponent to one shot, and then you go and have your possession. That's Wisconsin's defensive style. The problem for Wisconsin is they can't score, and North Texas is a really good defensive team as well. This is like the 22nd ranked team as far as defensive efficiency in the country, a spot above the Wisconsin Badgers. They only give up, North Texas that is, 55 points a game, okay? And for a Wisconsin team that has a problem scoring, And we saw this team score, 18 points in the first half of a game here recently. For a team in Wisconsin that has problems scoring against a team, Matt, in North Texas that has a lot of players who are long, who are fast, who are quick to the basketball, this thing could be a real slugfest. And I mean a slow grind slugfest. This thing could be really low scoring. The over-under on this, 115.5. Think about that. One as a total for the game.
Yeah. I was going to say with, the old story, the adage that we grew up with when, the tortoise versus the hare. This is more of the tortoise versus the tortoise. It's going to be a slow-ass slug match. It's going to be an ugly-ass game. I'm sorry to throw it out there for those high school girls ballers, but it's going to be like a high school girls basketball game. Low scoring, ugly down low. It's just being an ugly game if you look at the tempo of both the way the team plays. If you already brought up the way they play defense, North Texas does have five transfer players that are coming in, which makes their team a little bit different when they're trying to gel. That's how also goes with what's going on in all the NCAA all around. But it's going to be an ugly ass game. On our Facebook poll, we already have everybody's rooting. Seems like everybody's rooting for the Badgers. Everybody thinks the Badgers are going to win, but this is going to be a rough game for tonight. And I'm rooting for the Badgers. It's just going to be an ugly game, brother. Tortoise versus the tortoise.
So our Twitter feed at the Sports Cardi, 94.1% of our respondents have so far said Wisconsin's going to win over North Texas. You're seeing this on the screen as well. North Texas is a really good team, and the Ken Pom rankings, I'm not sure if you're familiar with what Ken Pom is, but it's a ranking system for college basketball teams. And our former sports betting insider, John Denton, a good friend of mine who played his college football at UNLV, and played for the Dolphins, played in the CFL, huge into college basketball betting, uses the Ken Pom ranking system, and so do most analytical research sites when it comes to betting, as a way to find out how good a team is. Have North Texas ranked as the number 33 team in the country.
Yeah.
If it weren't for the bias against mid-major teams, because North Texas is 11-3 against the spread in their last 14 games. These guys are winning and they're covering. If it wasn't for the bias against mid-major teams, North Texas is probably in the big dance.
Well, and I'm trying to find his name, but they're the player. They have the conference player of the year on their team, the Conference USA. So, I mean, they have plenty of talent. They just have the slowest tempo in the country, but they're ready to play and they're ranked. So this is going to be a battle for the Badgers.
This is going to be an absolute war for the Wisconsin Badgers. I think that Wisconsin, as I've stated before, being a decent team, has a shot to win, right? Wisconsin has a shot to win. They play the Big Ten. Conference USA is not the Big Ten.
Look who the Badgers play against. Look against Conference USA, but then like you and I have talked about, it comes down to talent, and then we'll see if the Badgers can match up against them.
Well, and it's also a one-game single elimination tournament. You never know exactly what's going to happen. Look at what we see in March Madness.
And you kind of brought
in the NCAA tournament. I guarantee if Kentucky plays whatever team they lost to 7 times, they're winning 4 of those 7 games.
Well, and you brought it up too as well, and I was going to further the point. Which Badger team shows up? Is it the Big Ten Badgers or the NIT Badgers? Because if the NIT Badgers show up, they make their free throws, they should pull off this game.
That's a really good point. Which team does show up is going to have a really big determining factor on which of these two teams come out on top. Again, Wisconsin and North Texas coming up tonight. I like Wisconsin. I really do, guys and gals. I like Wisconsin a lot. I just don't think that they've got enough tonight to beat North Texas. That's why if you're looking at this play that you're seeing on the screen, if you're watching us, and if you're not, I'm telling you, North Texas minus 1.5, which is where it's landing right now. We've got consensus moves. I'm looking at the numbers in real time. Consensus moves have North Texas minus 1.5. I think they get the best of Wisconsin tonight. I'm glad the Wisconsin Badgers made it to the Final Four in the NIT. I really am.
The last Big Ten playing team and men's team playing in
yes,
postseason. So
that's in basketball.
Yeah, basketball. Yep. You have
sure.
the Iowa women, but we won't get into that right now, obviously. But yeah, Big Ten men. The last team playing in the postseason is the Badgers, and that's great to see.
Yes, it is. I think you meant the Iowa Hawkeyes in women's basketball, right?
Yep.
So they're going to be playing South Carolina for the national championship. And congratulations. That's going to be a good matchup, I guess. I mean, from what I've heard, South Carolina versus Iowa.
South Carolina is undefeated, and Iowa matchup. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, we will. Now, for the men's Final Four, we do have that set. Again, not going to be until this Saturday, but Florida Atlantic, FAU, Matt, taking on number 5, San Diego State. My good buddy Rob Mish, an alumni of San Diego State. Just a supremely cool dude. deepest voice I have ever heard in my life. Like, this dude has a voice that makes me say, shit.
Yep.
Rob, come on, man. Anyhow, his San Diego State Aztecs will be taking on FAU, a game that I'm really looking forward to watching. Miami is going to face UConn. This is going to be a really interesting game as well because Miami has elite scorers. Unfortunately for our buddy Mike Byers, who is our favorite Texan here in Wisconsin, Miami had such elite scores, including that Jordan Miller, who had a perfect game, 7 for 7 from the field and 13 of 13 from the free throw line. They were able to overcome a 13-point deficit against a very good number 2 ranked Texas team to beat them by 3 points. And they're facing a UConn team here, Matt, who looks like the best team that's left, but it's really hard to say at this point. Now we're looking at 2 5s, a 4, a 9. This is what March Madness is all about. This is what people say they want. This is what they got. I like UConn. I'm not sure. I like San Diego State. I'm not sure. My bracket was bust day one. So I feel at this point, I've got nothing to say about how these games should shake out or how they will shake out. I'm just enjoying the ride. It's almost too topsy-turvy for me to even gauge and bet on now.
Well, I was going to throw it say out there to my buddy T Money, who walked away with the brackets for us down there. Yeah, I'm not going to go into names, but if he's listening, he knows who I'm talking about. So congratulations. He pulled off the brackets downstairs. With me, brothers, where I'm at is I think Miami.
What is he on the lamb or something?
He's might be doing something that I don't want to get him in trouble for. Like,
this sounds
politics or something. That type of stuff.
Oh.
So yeah. With that going said,
hey, T Money, thanks for the glasses, homie.
There you go. With the Miami UConn game, I think that might be the game of the tournament. I don't know why I'm saying it. Just like I got a feeling, just looking at this and reading over and over again, that could be the game of the tourney. You never want to see. You always want the game of the tourney to be the final game, but Miami UConn game could be highly, highly entertaining.
Oh, I think they'll all be highly entertaining. That's one thing about this year's tournament that I have had no problems with is the entertainment factor. I have not had any idea who 90% of the players were in this tournament until the actual moment in which I saw them on television, including that Noel kid from Kansas State. Yep. No idea who this dude was. Then I see him playing basketball, and I'm like, oh, my God, this dude's awesome. First of all, anytime there's somebody shorter than me that's out there just killing it on the court, I'm rooting for him because that's the kind of thing that just inspires you, right? It really does. This is why Muggsy Bogues and Spud Webb and Nate Robinson and all
White
these
chocolate, with the dishes, the passes.
Dude, he was 6'3".
Oh, really?
Yes.
I only thought he was like 6 foot.
No, he was 6'3".
Really?
Like Steph Curry's 6'4".
Okay,
People think Steph Curry's really small. He's not. I mean, he's small in the NBA, I suppose, but he's a really big guy. No, I mean, when I see guys that are really small, like even Isaiah Thomas was barely 6 feet. Allen Iverson was 5'11", if he was 5'11", 5'10 and a half, 5'11 with sneakers on, maybe getting to 6 feet. Those are the guys that you're just sort of having to step back and marvel at because when you play against everybody that's 6'7", 6'8", 7 feet, and you're wrecking them.
Trees,
and you're wrecking them, it just makes you go, wow, this is fun. Speaking of wrecking stuff, joining the show probably about 8:30 this morning is going to be our good buddy, Matt Janus, UWL head football coach. Janus and the Eagles are going to be getting ready to take on a trip to Italy, which I think is just going to be supremely epic. I know they're excited. Spring football is in the air. We're already starting to see teams like the Wisconsin Badgers. Matt, you and Joe DeGuano attempted to talk about that yesterday. The Wisconsin Badgers spring football game, or first spring practice, it wasn't the spring football game, it was the spring practice, has already put together a hype tape from the Wisconsin Badgers. Like I saw this morning, I was filtering through a whole bunch of news, and the Wisconsin Badgers have already put together a hype tape from their first spring practice. So they're obviously really, really, really excited about what it is that they're seeing. I'm really excited too. Spring football, I know we're not going to get into a ton of this morning, but spring football is something that I think we have a thirst for in this country, which is why practices make such headlines. And that's why the XFL last night, in week 6, had their first Monday night football game. And in the attendance in DC, not bad, man. Nope. It looked pretty good. It didn't look awesome. It wasn't a complete sellout, but it looked not bad. So spring football, this stuff, I think football in general,
the thirst for football, you said it already. The thirst for football, and this nation has it.
It really does. It's got a lot of it. All right, guys and gals, we're going to step aside, take a really, really quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to our good buddy, UWL head football coach, Matt Janus. Stick around. Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. My man, Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, doing such a great job for your buddy, Uncle Dave. I'm so excited to be working with Kyle. We're selling our condo on Lake Delton, and Kyle's getting us some great interest on this bad boy. I know our Facebook page, or at least my Facebook page, is showing this thing. If you're interested in a condo on Lake Delton, I'm going to be absolutely solicitous here. Go ahead and reach out to me. Send me a direct message. I'll give you details on how to get in touch with our good buddy Kyle. Again, buying or selling, investing in real estate, hit him up at One Trust Real Estate. Matt Janus, UWL football coach, joining the program here on a Tuesday, as he has become accustomed to for probably the last, few years. Coach, top of the morning, you're starting to grow back in a little bit. Last week, you were freshly shaven. You looked like a newborn. Now it seems like you're into your mid-teens again. How you feeling? Matt, do you have yourself on mute, perhaps?
I do. How about that?
There you
go. How about, I'm that guy. Yeah, there we go. Right. We've only been doing Zooms and all this stuff since COVID, and still can't figure out the mute button. What's going on, you guys?
That's okay. Hey man, we're just living life, baby, and loving the spring weather out here. I was talking to Matt recovery room behind me, and I said, when springtime comes, a young man's fancy turns to what? Football. And it feels like we're all geared up for football. Badgers' first spring practice was so good, they put out a hype tape. The XFL had their first Monday night football game last night. It felt like people in D.C. were pretty excited about it. I don't know what the viewership numbers were, but it felt like people in attendance were excited. And, buddy, you're at, 59 days exactly from when you take off for Italy, and you get to take on a spring experience that the Eagles, I don't know if have ever had, but if they have, I don't know if it's to the magnitude or the degree of participation that you're about to have coming up here.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, isn't it? Yeah, so I think it's 59 or 58 days, somewhere in that range right now. And and actually we're going to kick off our spring ball a week from Sunday. So we actually start our spring ball for the next month. We got 4 practices a week here for 4 straight weeks, and getting excited to now really take our first look at the 2023 Eagle football team here.
So let me ask you, in your opinion, and this is not right or wrong, what is the one position group that Eagle fans should be most excited about coming into the 2023 season that perhaps they didn't see coming? Okay, because maybe we've got our tried and trues like our quarterback position, but if you were going to pick out a position group that you thought would be exciting to fans that they might not have seen coming, what might that position group be?
Well, I would say there's 2, Dave. I would say the first one would be our running back room. I think that's just going to be really exciting. I think there's some phenomenal players in that group. And I say that because I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, who's going to be your back now that a guy like Joey Stutzman is gone now, and who's going to be that? And I think you're going to find a group that has a ton of depth, with the way that Brant Bowman has run the ball for us in the past, and obviously him getting the reins, and we'll head into the spring as the number 1, but also the guys in that room, such as Gabe Lynch and Dio Oye, and then the guys that we're going to be bringing in here. Obviously we won't get a chance to see them this spring, but that is a really good running back class, and a really deep running back class, a lot of numbers that we're really excited about. And then I think the second group that I would say we're really excited about is a group that, is going to have some new faces on it. We look at our offensive line and what they were able to do over the last 3 years. But, you look at a group that there was our offensive line, all 5 of them were all conference. And so, and it was a very, we had some seniors, especially from guard to guard. Our 2 guards and our center were seniors, and they're going to be moving on. But this is a group now that that, we have now some juniors that we recruited, way back, as we kind of first started as a staff, that had a chance now to grow, and guys that, were on our travel roster, but because of the depth ahead of them, didn't necessarily see a ton of playing time. And now this is a group that we feel is tremendously talented. We are gaining size. We are much bigger already than what we were up front last year. It starts, we bring our two bookends, our two tackles come back, and Noah Coleman and Mike Bertoya. Noah was a honorable mention all conference pick, and then Mike Bertoya was a second team All-American. Is a returning All-American, is already a two-time all conference player. I really do. I think he's going to have a shot here at the next level here as he continues to grow. So Mike Bertoya and obviously Noah come back at the tackle positions, but we are adding some big-time depth. We brought in a center from Augustana and Sioux Falls, and Jack Alexander, whose numbers have been off the chart this offseason. And then we have two guards that we're really high on with Brendan Harder, Levi Ledke. Again, we're much bigger from guard to guard than we were last year. Now we lose some phenomenal players like we had in 2022, but really excited about the athleticism and the size in that group. And then, other guys that are kind of coming along is Dane Walter now is going to be a sophomore. And I think that's going to be a name that's really going to push actually some of our other guys as well. I mean, right now we recruited Dane. His brother's actually a defensive end on our team. And he's a year younger. Dane is a year younger than Cole. But Dane is 6'7" out of high school. And so he was 6'7", super athletic. We knew we had I've talked to Coach McGlenn a lot. I'm like, he's gonna go to the league. Like if he goes in this trajectory, and he kind of came in a little light, obviously was 6'7", 260, and now he's 285 pounds over the offseason. I mean, he is just, and there's not an ounce of fat on him. So I think he's gonna have a really productive. He's gonna be in the mix. He's gonna be on the field in some way, shape, or form. He's gonna have a really productive year. And guys like Alex Cooley have been working really good. So we're really, we lost. Alex Bongers and Cole Greco and Connor Berry and some guys that played in a ton of games for us up front. But I think there's a ton of excitement in the air with the guys now that are going to kind of take this reign moving forward.
Coach, I got one for you. As a UW alum way back in the day, comm degree, obviously, so I didn't spend a lot of time over there. And the campus has changed a lot since back in the day. But obviously you have the field house, and you brought up spring practice. So I'm wondering if there's any, what's going forward with the new amenities, and how is the field house helping with spring practice, and any of those things helping out with the program that you didn't have in previous years?
Yeah, I think it's just another space for our athletes, and I think not just from a football perspective. I think from every sport we've just been cramped. We've had the current field house. I guess you call it the old field house in Mitchell Hall right now, where it was just kind of cramped. And if you think about it, like you go into the winter and it's track wants to use it, and baseball and softball, and we need to use it to warm up, and lacrosse is in there, and everybody's in there. There's no space. So I think really this winter, and since that's opened up, you've seen just much more just a bigger space for our athletes. We've seen our baseball team doesn't have to practice over the winter at 10 p.m. because there's no other time to do it. That they're in the gym at 4 p.m. And so I think that's kind of freed up some space, all around. And then obviously from a football perspective, we'll use it a little bit, but I'm not going indoors unless I really, 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 really have to. And our guys know that. I mean, we're gonna play in all elements. We're not gonna head inside because it rains or anything like that. But maybe we'll gain a little bit of it for some, really the big part that we'll use it for, some of the meeting space that's available in there. And it's obviously going to be huge to be able to have those different rooms and kind of right there in one building for us.
Well, I'll tell you what, fellas, this is just a personal aside. When I first came to lacrosse in 2016, I was getting driven around town by a good buddy, Scott Robert Shaw, and he's showing me the city of lacrosse. And I'm looking at the downtown restaurants and the bar scene, and then we're going to Grandad Bluff, and then we go to the U. And in Las Vegas, this was no knock on UNLV at the time, their facilities were trash. And I drove up to the building, the Roger Herring Stadium front, and I'm just taken back and just stunned by the beauty, the size, the scope of all of this. To see the additions, fellas, that have been made in the last 6 years since I touched down here, it's been incredible. And that's where I think, Matt, you look at this campus, no matter what usage it is for the football team, and you just have to be proud if you're a city of lacrosse resident, this is what the city is doing, and this is what the university is doing. It's just awesome. I just love looking at the campus expand. That field house, it does look fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty special. And Dave, I came a year after you, right? And so I came to this area a year after you. And Matt, you being an alum, we'll have people come back, and the whole western side of eastern side of campus is different. Yep. It's it's just so different. You look at you just go up to the third floor of our stadium, and you look out, whether it's to the west or to the east. And if you look to the west, you have the Union, you have the new science building, and hopefully it's going through right now. Hopefully the phase 2 of the science building gets passed here by the state. And then you look to the eastern side, and there's a brand new field house. And I mean, it's just so cool to have that kind of energy and have that kind of investment into our campus. And it's just so different. It continues to add to the beauty of this area.
Yeah, it really does. And I'm just, again, so excited to be a part of this thing as it's gone from, again, a reboot to now something where it feels like you guys are building on and defending a certain kind of territory, conference champions here in 2022. It's really exciting. And I'm just, I'm stoked for what comes up next. So spring football begins, as you mentioned, next week. Now, if I can, fellas, I want to transition us into an NFL conversation. And Matt, I just want to get, and Matt, I'm talking to you, Coach. I want to get your general take on what we found out yesterday from the owners' meetings that are happening right now. Brian Gutekunst said that in no uncertain terms that Aaron Rodgers ghosted the team. So he was asked by a reporter how the conversations went through the offseason. Again, I'm paraphrasing some of the ways the questions were posed to Brian Gutekunst, but his quote is here on the screen. I'll read it to you. I was really looking forward to conversations with Aaron to see how he fit into that being the Packers' plans for this upcoming season. Gutekunst went on to say those never transpired. He went on to say after that, we went through his representatives to try to talk about where we were going with our team. At that point, they informed us that he would like to be traded to the Jets. So this is another one of these situations in which I'm not calling Aaron Rodgers specifically a liar, because he didn't say on Pat McAfee's show that he talked to Brian Gutekunst or the Packers. He did say that when he emerged from darkness, he went to his phone and heard things were different from people. Okay. So he didn't converse with the Packers. He was hearing this from whomever. I'm supposing it was his representatives as the Packers were talking to. But Matt, as the essential general manager in a lot of ways of your football team, and maybe that's Tina, I'm not sure, but we'll call you GM because you're putting the roster together. How does this land with you? Your quarterback doesn't talk to you. You paid the dude a ton of money. He goes to the darkness retreat. You're just trying to figure things out. How does this land with you?
I mean, I'll just say this, Dave. Good for Goody. Good for finally, and I think he's held that in for probably, what's this been with Aaron Rodgers? 3 years?
Yeah, for sure.
3 years of this stuff, and they kept their mouth shut last time. They gave him all this money. They gave him the new contract that he wanted. They tried to make him feel involved. They tried to add Randall Cobb and make sure Lewis stayed around. And, and finally, enough's enough. This guy goes on, the Pat McAfee show, and like you said, he wants to blast the Packers. He wants to go after them and act like they haven't, done everything in their power to make Aaron Rodgers happy. And so good for Goody. I mean, these guys, ultimately, those guys in the front office, really any team, right? You have to build your football team to win next year. That's how this league works. And like I said, just good for him for getting rid of this clown and hopefully getting rid of this clown and being done with just this guy, and I think as Packers fans, everybody hears Goody say that. And maybe 3 years ago, remember how when all this kind of was it 3 years ago when all this kind of broke out with Aaron, a lot of Packers fans kind of took Aaron Rodgers aside, right? And they were kind of against the front office. And now we've carried this on for 3 years. And now everybody's like, you know what, Goody, what you said sounds pretty much right. And now everybody's kind of floated on to, let's be past this guy. Let's see what Jordan Love can do. Let's have some excitement there and see what's going to happen here and get him out, get the distraction away, and let's start focusing on the 2023 Packers.
Well, I'm with you 100% here. And fellas, I said this to many back in the day and not as loud perhaps on air at the time because, again, we're wading through Packer territory, and I get it. There's certain amounts of emotional ties to players. But I would have shipped Aaron Rodgers' ass out a long time ago if it were me, because at 39 years old, look at what the Packers are dealing with right now. A declining value so steep that they're having to work with one of the teams in the NFL, not 32 as probably would have been the case even 4 years ago, one team. And the compensation they're fighting over is a middle of the first round draft pick, for Christ's sakes. It's not like the first draft pick in the NFL draft for who ostensibly is going to be going down in history as one of the greatest quarterbacks. So my point being, I wouldn't have given Aaron this contract. I wouldn't have given him the contract before that. And I feel like it's really obtuse of us as Packer fans to not remember why Brian Gutekunst did what he did in drafting Jordan Love. Rodgers looked like he was in serious decline. Mike McCarthy became the first Packer head coach in the history of the team to get fired in the middle of the season. This was something that Green Bay just has never done. You cannot blame Brian Gutekunst for any of the things that he has done. And I also said, if drafting Jordan Love inspired Rodgers at the bare minimum for 2 MVP seasons, the draft pick was almost largely worth it, because a guy at the end of the first round, you don't even know if he's going to play, really. I mean, it's kind of there, you hope, but you don't know for sure. So I'm with you on this. The other thing is, it puts the Packers, I think, still in a better leverage position, because if you tell me that you haven't had any conversations with the quarterback, then that also tells me that you don't have to do anything for this quarterback. So you're not rushing this thing, guys, to the finish line, right? Brian Gutekunst also said this. They hope to get a deal done sooner than later. I guess I'll start, over here with you, Matt, from the recap. I mean, how long do you think this takes now? Because the draft is less than a month away. But do you think that Gutekunst cares after what he said, yesterday?
I'm actually going to take this from the Jets' perspective. I think Joe Douglas put his health even in a worse corner because of the Lamar Jackson news. He already came out and said they will not negotiate with Lamar Jackson because that would go in bad faith. So they're in a corner, and they're going to go down this corner down this road no matter what. And it is the road where Aaron Rodgers is either going to be with the Packers, retire, or be a Jet, because that's where they're going to go. And Joe Douglas came out and said it, and Goody came out and said what he said. So there's no way in hell he's coming back to the Packers.
What about you, Janus?
Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. I just don't get why why Douglas would say that. Like, he just, like the Jets, it feels like, just keep taking away any leverage or negotiation skills. Like, and if you're the New York Jets, why? And I know they got to figure out the cap flexibility. Why wouldn't you go after Lamar Jackson over Aaron Rodgers? I mean, you're talking about a 1-year deal, so you're going to give up probably a number one at some point.
He's not 39 either, coach.
Quarterback who's a head case. What I mean, I know there's some health issues with Lamar, but why wouldn't you? If you're going to give up 2 draft picks, why wouldn't you go for the younger guy? You know what I mean? And that's just like, and to go right off the bat and say, well, no, we're not going after him. We're going to go after Aaron Rodgers. Okay, I guess so. It doesn't make much sense to me, but.
Well, this is why the Jets haven't won a Super Bowl since Mr. Turnover. I mean, Joe Namath won it for him back in whatever year that was, 1971, I think it was. So it's been a few years. The Jets are going to do Jet things. Here's the other thing about Lamar, just real quick, because I know we don't have time to squeeze this in now, but the more that I think about this, and Coach, I'd like to get your thoughts because you deal with players. I think Lamar Jackson, because he was playing on that 5th-year rookie deal last year, might have been good to go for a number of those games down the stretch. I don't know that 5 games was all that he had to, like, I don't know if he had to miss all those. If you knew that you weren't getting a long-term deal, if you knew that there weren't no guarantees for you past that season, as a player, do you feel the impetus to necessarily go out there and risk it all?
I mean, obviously, I think as a fan, it's frustrating as somebody who wants to watch football. But I mean, from the business aspect, like, how do you not see what that guy's coming through? I mean, he's not stupid. He looks around, he sees what Mahomes has, what Deshaun Watson has, what Rodgers has, what Allen has, and I mean, with the exception of Mahomes, I'm not sure when he's at the top of his game, I'm not sure he's not the second best, in the league at this point. And so, like, I see that. Like, I understand the business side of it and wanting to get his money, and obviously, like you said, Dave. There's been some issues with this long-term deal for a long time with him, and to sit out and to make sure, that you're not, he tears his ACL, especially with the running quarterback. He tears his ACL going into a contract year. What's he going to get? He's not going to get the guarantee like he wants to. So you certainly see it from his perspective, as a fan though, and especially where the Ravens were at last year and with their defense, you thought with him on the field, they would have had a chance to at least move that thing along. So you kind of see both sides of it, but definitely understand from his perspective.
Well, I tell you, fans and the NFL could be reaching a new boiling point with this Thursday night football flex thing. When we come back, Matt and I are going to kind of dish on that. We might want to pick your brain on how this will be working out for NFL fans with the new proposed flex Thursday night thing next week. Matt, thanks again for coming on. It's always fun having you, buddy. It's going to be a great week for Eagle fans because look at it outside. You know that, again, the young man's fancy turns to spring football when it starts to get nice here. So we'll be looking forward to spring practice next week. Thanks as always, dude.
Thanks, Coach. Good
Yeah,
luck.
thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices. You betcha. Preferred Insurance, Brian and Tony. Get yourself over there. Get a quote today for home, auto, business, flood insurance, renters insurance too. They get to choose from all the nation's biggest insurance carriers, meaning you get the best prices because they get to shop you around. Speaking of shopping around, Matt, we were talking about this off air. HBO's been shopping around for a new Hard Knocks partner, and I know that the Aaron Rodgers conversation, Jeff Zelke was checking in here. He's funny. He's like, what season of, quote, as the MVP like turns that. Are we in? Either way, I want new writers. This has been so boring.
These are the days of our lives.
It says maybe it gets exciting when love dominates and the MVP breaks his leg. I totally agree. This is so interesting for nobody at this point, but it's news. And when I say it's news, it bears reporting only because as Packer fans, listen, we do have a certain amount of care. And I know you're a Bear fan about what this is going to be resolution wise. And I see a lot of people here in town, and I talk to them and interact with them online that want Brian Gutekunst fired or love Rodgers or hate him. And it continues to dominate, but that's what Rodgers wants to do. We also happen to be, I think, a little bit myopic when it comes to Packer fandom because it feels like that is our world in a lot of ways. So I get it, Jeff. It's not always the most exciting, but it does fill some time. And I get it. Brian Gutekunst, probably wouldn't have wanted to talk about it 2 years ago either because you don't want to upset the guy. It's what we're talking about with Lamar. You don't want to franchise tag him and all this shit. But either way, it would be fun to see him get knocked around in New York a bit, which I guess is going to be somewhat of a consideration for HBO, like I was sort of alluding to here. They might knock around having the Jets on Hard Knocks here.
Well, that's where I was going with. And Coach Janus just brought it up as a distraction, which Aaron Rodgers has been. And I'm sorry for all the Packer fans out there because Aaron Rodgers is probably going to pull a solid for all the Bears fans out there because the Bears were in line to take over the Hard Knocks for this year. But because of all this Aaron Rodgers drama, if he signs with the Jets, it looks like the Jets are going to take over the Hard Knocks for the season. So that's a less distraction for the Bears, more media for Aaron Rodgers, because we all know how much Aaron Rodgers loves the media, and that New York media plus HBO, they're going to love all of it, my friend.
Well, that is something that Aaron, I think, would actually revel in, to be frank. He goes to
New
York.
As long as he performs well, because if he comes out not well, he's going to go back to the darkness in some way, shape, or form.
Well, the Hard Knocks, though, if it's like all the other ones, will be just during the preseason and training camp. So,
but you just have media on you all the time.
He loves that. He's all about that.
I think it was great for the Lions because it motivated the Lions. I just don't know how it would go over with the New York Jets in New York media and just more and more media in that market as well. I look at it glass half empty. There's just more impetus. There's more coverage. There's more shit on you. And I don't know if Aaron really wants that in New York because he really doesn't unless you're Pat McAfee, he really doesn't like the media.
I disagree. I think he loves the media. He was wanting to be the Jeopardy host, bro. That's on a fucking network television.
Yeah, but he's asking questions, not answering questions there.
Okay, that's not the point.
Right.
Not liking or not liking the media. I mean, if you didn't like the media, you don't go do that. That means you don't get in front of TV cameras.
He likes to be the center of attention. I'll agree with you on that.
Great.
Yeah.
What he doesn't like is people asking him objective questions. What does HBO's Hard Knocks not do? That. They're just there to film it. They're not there to ask you questions. And the thing gets packaged up. I mean, think about the way that that's produced, right? So you have people filming it. It's like a movie production. Sure. They're not there asking Aaron Rodgers hard questions. They're not asking him anything. That's the point of Hard Knocks.
They're in the room with videos when the questions are being asked.
No, they're not. Have you watched Hard Knocks? It's like in their locker rooms. It's on the field.
Yep.
They're not there at media scrums. And even if they are, they're looking at how the media interacts with Rodgers. Rodgers is going to have to take the questions anyways. Okay, like that's going to have to happen. And it's not going to be up to Rodgers how many people get credentials to a New York press conference,
Okay.
right? They're going to be 200 people
I
there
agree
because
with you on that end.
that's New York. So if he goes to the Jets, that's happening no matter what. No matter what. So there's nothing to change about that. I'm saying this. Aaron Rodgers is a thirsty, self-centered, egotistical, narcissistic little bitch. He wants the attention more than anything. Matt, he is so thirsty for the attention. He's talking to Brandon Marshall, okay, at that golf tournament. And he's, stay tuned. My decision will be coming soon. He sounded like Donald fucking Trump. Stay tuned, like you goddamn jamoke. So, of course, he just loves the attention. He'll drip with excitement to see HBO's Hard Knocks. He thinks he's a superstar. Bro, he went to Game of Thrones, was in an episode because he's such a nerd fanboy. He wants to host Jeopardy. I mean, come on.
I'm saying as an organization overall, they don't want any more distractions. And Aaron Rodgers.
Are you kidding me?
No, hold on,
Listen
hold
how
on, hold
stupid
on.
the Jets are.
That's my point. That's how stupid. But they're also in New York media. He's already going to be a fucking carnival as it is. So I'm just saying thank you for Hard Knocks. If you take the Jets over to the Bears as a Bears fan, because the Bears, I don't want them to have any more distractions. I want them to concentrate on hopefully trying to beat the Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions, and let Aaron Rodgers do his Brett Favre thing in New York.
See, I think that if you're a coach, you're probably thinking that yourself, right? Like, so if you're a coach of the team, like if I'm the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, I'm probably of the mindset that you're taking right now. Like, wow, I just don't want this distraction. If I'm the president of the company, if I'm the owner, if I am the CFO, bring it on.
As long as they win, brother.
Fuck all that, man. It's about money.
No, it's
The
also
Jets
about the Jets have been horrible, like you keep bringing up over and over again, which is true. But it's also about money, but it's also about winning championships. They're not going to bring in Aaron Rodgers just to if they don't have problems selling seats in New York, in my opinion. They have enough fan base. If Aaron Rodgers, he's going to sell the seats enough, they're going to make plenty of money. They're bringing him in to win a fucking championship. And if he doesn't win a championship, it's a failure all the way around.
Well, I don't disagree with the failure part of that, which I think will be the Jets' case. They're not going to win a championship. Aaron Rodgers is not a Super Bowl quarterback. He isn't. And he hasn't won anything for 13 years. So anybody that thinks otherwise is delusional. Okay, at 40 years old, he's not doing anything. It's not like he was Tom Brady, who has been in Super Bowls so recently that when he leaves one place, it's like, well, Tom's just going to, maybe could he do this? And he did. And we were all still shocked because it's happened exactly one time, ever, once. Aaron's not going to succeed. So that's already a failure. I think that oftentimes the business of sports gets convoluted by fans in that they think that the business of sports should be the way that they feel about the team. I don't think the Jets give a fuck. And when we're saying enough money, there's never enough. There is never enough money for these people. You don't get to be a world-dominating billionaire by saying, well, I think I've had enough money. No, more is always the thing.
Well,
so
it's Johnson and Johnson.
Exactly.
So yeah.
More jerseys, more money, more TV, more DVDs, more seats, whatever. More national TV coverage. More. Win a championship? Okay, cool. If it happens, I guess. But only one team's going to win. Everybody else is not. So
I don't think a Packer fan would feel the same way about that.
I don't disagree. And that's where, again, fans do not run businesses like the fucking NFL. And for those of us that as fans incorrectly think that the people in those offices are sitting there like you are watching, or not you specifically, but as a Packer fan, watching Cheesehead TV or Acme Packer Company and, just pining over this shit, like it doesn't work that way. This is a job. These people also move to other companies. This is a job. Your brother's worked in the NFL. It's a job. Did he like working for the Colts? I'm sure. Did he like working for the Bucks? Yeah. Do you like working for anybody that pays you? Mm-hmm. And it works out that way. Same thing with players. So it just, the whole idea of like, well, they want to win a championship. Sure. Everybody wants to, but not everybody will. Actually, only one team will. So if they make tons more money, that is going to be Woody Johnson's big thing. That will be the success.
All right. But where is Aaron? If Aaron Rodgers doesn't win another Super Bowl?
Well, he's a fucking jamoke anyways.
So we're dead with him, I guess, is what everybody's saying when it comes to Packer fandom. He's just gone off, and I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay with that.
He'll be remembered, right, as one of the greatest Packer quarterbacks of all time. Will he be remembered as greater than Bart Starr? I don't think so. Better than Bart Starr? Yes, because technically he's better. Okay, technically Aaron Rodgers is better than Brett Favre. I understand that. Will he be greater than Brett Favre or those guys? No. I mean, greater than Brett Favre, maybe that's a question that we can have Boy, these guys, these Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers dudes make it real hard to like them.
Pat McAfee is making enough money off of Aaron Rodgers that if he has any legal bills, he'll have them covered with Brett Favre. That's where I was going to go.
Come see us at the Recov, open at 11. I'm back behind the bar at 4. Fuck Rodgers.